guys, this is Gary, and I wanted to make this video about masking hair. In this case, putting this woman on a white background. So, I want to show you how to do that. There's no way you're going to be able to do what I'm about to do in Lightroom, so we need to bring this photo into Photoshop, and obviously you would go up to Photo, Edit in, and then choose Edit in Adobe Photoshop. Since I already have done this and there is an original that's a PSD extension, I could just choose that. But I've already got it open in Photoshop, so I'm not going to open it again. I'm just going to go right into Photoshop and show you the image. And here it is. Okay, so now that we've got that, we have to figure out a strategy to make the background white. And obviously that would require masking her. Now, the problem with that is using select and mask doesn't work very well. It's just not going to cut it for us. Trust me, I tried it. I had to spend too much time trying to get it right, and it wasn't working. So I had to go old school on this. So I had to go into my channels palette, and you're not looking at a photograph. What you're looking at is the different levels of luminance, in this case of blue. And if I click on the green channel, you'll looking at the different luminance levels of the color green, and then if I click on the red channel, I get the different luminance levels of the color red. If I click on the composite channel, I get a combination of all three, and those three channels together give us our color image. All right, so basically, I need the channel that gives me the most amount of contrast between Melinda here and the background. And in this case, that happens to be the red channel. Blue channel, no. Green channel, no. Red channel, the hair is lighter, the skin, everything is good. So I'm going to use that as my basis to do what I need to do next. So I'm going to make a copy of this by dragging it down into the Create Channel icon. And that gives me a channel called Red Copy. I'm going to change that to Hair. So this is an alpha channel, like I said, and an alpha channel basically is a place where we store selections. So I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and then I'm going to basically darken my shadows and really brighten my highlights a lot, like ridiculously a lot. And then further by moving my gamma slider, what I'm trying to do is get the most amount of contrast between my subject and the black background. So if I move my shadow slider even more, you can see, okay, so I need to find a happy medium. I'm going to get as much of her clothing as I can. And even though I'm getting a little bit of haloing in the black background, I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to hit OK. So the next move for me is I'm going to grab a brush and I'm going to change its blending mode to overlay. And the foreground color is white. So if I come in here, I'm going to make my brush fairly large. And I'm just going to paint in overlay mode. What it's going to do is ignore the darker areas and only brighten the brighter areas. So the point is, I'm trying to make everything I want to be masked out white. And I can, at this point, create a selection and fill in the middle part. So I'm not really worried about the center area here. So in overlay mode, it's basically picking up the little strands of hair, but not touching the black behind them. And that's exactly what we want. So the more I go over the same area, if it's not pure black, it'll keep getting brighter and brighter until it's pure white, as evidenced by this. See what's going on there? But I don't actually need to go through all this right here. I can do this with a selection. So I'm going to go grab my lasso tool and draw a very crude selection around the, or close to the edge of my area that I want to mask. And come up here like so, come up here. It doesn't have to be super accurate, obviously. I'm just trying to save some time here. So now if I go Alt Delete, with my foreground color white, I fill that selection with white. All right, so now we're starting to get somewhere, right? So for the time being, I'm going to go back to a brush and change the mode back to normal. Now, in normal mode, it'll paint over black, whereas in overlay mode, it won't. So, okay, so I just need to come in and do a little cleanup here. Now that I'm in normal mode, I have to be very careful not to go outside the hair. So I'm using a soft edge brush, and I'm just kind of bumping up against the few strands of hair that define the edge of her head. So again, I'm just trying to clean up this selection. Trying to avoid the very edge. Okay, I went too far there. I don't really know what's going on here. But there's a way that I can look. And the way that I would do that is by hitting the RGB channel. So I can see that that's all filled in with hair. So if I go back here, I can confidently fill all this in. Even here, which is good because that was going to be a problem. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, what about here? No, that's all hair. And that's great because this was also going to be a problem. So this is actually going to come out really good because of that. Okay, so I'm going to get really small here and just kind of, I don't know. I'm going to have to mess with this a little bit later on, but for now, that's fine. So let's see what's going on here. Okay, this is great. I can fill in all this stuff. Okay, so we're coming down, following the line of her shoulder. Okay, I screwed up a little bit there, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Now, if I hit the X key, I can make my foreground color black. If I go back to overlay, I can kind of fill in the background, which was not pure black. And I won't really be messing with the edge. See all that stuff going on there? So I'm going to make my brush a lot larger. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and just try and grab all that crap there. Come up around here. Yeah, I see some problems over here, so I'm going to just... Now, I'm in overlay mode, so I don't have to be super careful. I can get in really close to the hair, but I'm still a little shy about that. So I'm going to be probably more careful than I need to be. All right, I think we're getting a pretty good mask here already. How about over here? Is this stuff... Oh, great. That's all hair. That's all solid. So I'm going to go white. And I'm in overlay mode, so I have to go over it a couple times. Yeah, I'm just going to go back to normal mode and paint all that in. Okay. It's actually looking pretty good. Yeah, all right. I'm going to go to black. And I'm going to make my brush smaller because I need to try and get some of this crap up here without... Okay, so now one last little thing before we really refine this to a super realistic looking mask. Whoops. Need to fill that shoulder in. Not that that's a big deal. It's simple. Okay, I'm going to hit this entire channel. Remember, this is an alpha channel. It's not a photograph. And doesn't this look like a layer mask? All right, so I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and I just want to make sure the white stuff is white. So I'm going to just go a little bit beyond that, and then just a little bit beyond that part of the histogram that's showing a bunch of black. That sort of refines my edge a little bit, probably too much, but that's all right. We can fix that. All right, now we have what looks to be a pretty decent selection. So let's see if it is. I'm going to go back to the RGB composite channel. I'm going to hold down my Command key on the Mac, that would be Control on the PC, and click on this hair alpha channel, and lo and behold, that turns it into a selection. So if I go back to the layers, and I want to add a layer mask to this layer, so I'm going to basically just click on Add Layer Mask, and I get that. All right, so with this layer selected, if I hold down the Command key on the Mac, that would be the Control key on the PC, and click Add New Layer, it adds a new layer below the currently selected layer. And now that that's going on, I'm going to hit my D key to go back to my default black and white. Then I'm going to hit the X key to make my foreground color white. I'm going to hold down the Alt and the Delete key and fill that background layer with white. All right, so now you can see it's actually looking pretty good. We're not done though, because this looks really weird. That's weird. And this is weird. So we need to do something about that. Yeah, see, it's just looking weird. So a couple things here. I can take my brush and set it back to overlay mode, and making sure that my layer mask is selected. At this point, make my foreground color black. Okay, that's going to hit it too hard, so I'm going to change the opacity of my brush to about 30%, and just come in here and very carefully go over the very edge. See, hair is translucent, and you can see that the hair, the black background is actually showing through the hair. So the only way we can combat that is to fake the hair being translucent. So what I'm doing now, maybe I should just turn on the layer mask. If I hold down the Alt key and click on the layer mask, we're only seeing the layer mask. So what I'm doing by having my brush set to overlay, foreground color black, is I'm darkening the flyaways a little bit. And that, in effect, fakes them being translucent, which in turn is allowing that white background to show through. But I need to see the image itself, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key and click on the layer mask and work this way. So I'm very gradually sort of fading back the flyaway hair. Okay, this is just weird. I'm going to have to do some finagling here for sure. I'm not going to really worry too much about this. Yeah, it's weird here too. There's another technique we can use to fix all this stuff. This hair just looks like, I don't know, it doesn't really look like hair, does it? So we need to fix that. And this is one of those good news, bad news things. Like, yeah, you can fix stuff like that, but it's pretty labor intensive, unfortunately. So I'm going to come up here and just sort of round this out. Okay. This side, it's really not so bad. I'm going to make my brush a little larger and just hit it with one pass. At 30% opacity, I'm not hitting it too hard, but it's doing the job. So I'm going to go over this a couple times. Every time I go over it, I'm adding another 30% of, in this case, black. All right, let's see where we are. That's not bad. I mean, we're getting there, right? So the last step here, and this is the step that is unfortunately very tedious, I'm going to create a new layer above my current layer by clicking on my new layer icon. And now, yeah, you got to draw in hair. It's just the only way. So I mean, the bottom line is, to make this look totally realistic, you got to draw in hair. All right, I mean, we're very, very close. So I already did the hair drawing in thing. So let me just show you the after, and then I'll show you exactly what I did. So here's after I drew in hair. There's before, after, before, after. Okay, so that looks really good, right? Okay, so what you do, you're still on your brush. You're going to make your brush really small. And I'm going to move my opacity back to 100%. And I'm going to hold down the eye. Well, we need to go in close to the edge here. So I'm going to hold down my I key to take a sample of the hair color right about there. Okay? Now I'm going to make my brush really small, hair small. So if I draw here, all right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So now I'm a lefty. So this angle is really hard for me to draw, so I'm going to actually rotate the canvas like this by holding down the R key. And now I'm just going to draw in hair. Now I'm not going to make you sit through this whole thing. I've already done that process as I just showed you, but I just want to show you how that's accomplished. Yeah, this is tedious. It takes time. I mean, I'm sorry to say there's just no way around it. Let me grab a little lighter hair here. So the idea is you just sort of work your way down, and you can grab different, lightness of her brown hair as you go, but you got to do it by hand. Unfortunately, you just have to. But as you can see, it actually does a pretty good job. I mean, it looks real. You wouldn't know that wasn't actually hair. All right, it's getting lighter, so I need to hit it with the eyedropper tool right about there. So this basically covers a multitude of sins because, there's no masking techniques that's perfect. And if now that I'm zoomed in really close, you can see that this is not perfect, but I can sort of add a little, add to the flyaways basically, and it makes it look more realistic. So holding down the R key, and now I'm going to hold down the Shift key and bring it back to 0 degrees, and I'm just going to. Okay, so already, I mean, here's the before, after, before, after. Whoops, whoa, whoops, hit the wrong button there. After. Now here's the completed one, right? Look it down here. See how I was able to fill in a lot of stuff, right? So basically you just go around and paint in hair, sampling different colors by holding down the I key, and you just keep going. And that's what I did. And that's what you need to do in a case like this. I'm sorry that the news isn't better, because the painting in the hair part is very time consuming for sure. But if you want a realistic mask and you want realistic looking hair, and you're faced with a situation like I was, where I had to go from the exact opposite, i.e. black to white, there's really no other way to do it. So there we go. I hope you guys found this useful. See you next time. Bye.